Welcome to Case by Case. We want to just take a moment and remind you that this content is intended for adult audiences. It is created for educational and informational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised, as discussions may include references to real criminal cases, violence, and other sensitive and potentially distressing topics. While we strive to present every case with accuracy and respect those involved, the material may not be suitable for all viewers. Please proceed thoughtfully. And remember, if you need to take a step back, if you find something that concerns you, if you find it to be triggering and you need to take a step back, please do. You can join us whenever you're ready to come back. We'll leave the light on.
Courtney Ann Bradley Bartholomew, the biological mom and stepfather accused in the torture and murder of Rebecca Park and her infant, appearing in court today. Now, what played out inside the courtroom today could be called routine as the case continues through the steps of the legal process. But documents describing the crimes the Bartholomews are charged with are giving us a glimpse into some disturbing new details. The documents provided by the court after we filed a Freedom of Information Act request reveal what investigators believe are the graphic final moments of 22-year-old Rebecca Park.
What we were listening to was a news clip about the hearing that had taken place regarding this case. Now, this case, again, comes with an extra trigger warning because it's horrible, it's graphic, and there's no way for me to get around it if we're going to go through this and see what this case is all about and how it came about. But let me just tell you up front, this case is about, as the news clip said, a woman and her husband killing her, not his, biological daughter and the unborn child. The unborn child has not been found, but the mother's body has been found. And every once in a while, I have to remind YouTube that this is for educational purposes only, and this is for adults, and we are not violating any copyright. We are only playing clips that are out in the public and documents that have been publicly released. Okay, just to be on the safe side. All right, so here we go. So we got a police officer with Wexford County Sheriff's Office, and he's going to attest to these facts. So this is a sworn police officer from Wexford County Sheriff's Office. He's going to attest to what's in this probable cause affidavit. So we're going to go into some of the details. But he's presenting the facts as a sworn deputy sheriff to establish probable cause that the crime of homicide, first degree, premeditated, felony murder, torture, conspiracy to commit torture, assault of a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, conspiracy to commit assault of a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, unlawful imprisonment, removing a dead body without the consent of the medical examiner, was committed by the defendant, and affiant is respectfully seeking a warrant for the arrest. So here's where we get into the facts. And I'm going to skip over some of the addresses and things like that because we want to get into the meat of this. And if we need to backtrack and it matters about that, and it will later, then we'll go back to that. But this is a really long document, so I want to get to the heart of it. Now, it started on November 4th, 2025 at 12:44. 911 received a call from Kimberly Supak. Now, this is the sister of the girl that's missing, reporting that her sister, Rebecca K. Park, had not been seen since November 3rd at approximately 23:30. So she's not missing for a very long time before the sister says, hey, I can't find her. In Boone Township of Wexford County. And then they assigned it an incident number, and they identified it as a missing person investigation. At the time of the report, Rebecca was 38 weeks pregnant and living with her boyfriend, Richard Lee Fowler, in Cedar Creek Township. Deputy Reed spoke to Courtney Bartholomew, who is Rebecca's biological mother and lives at a different address in that same area, Courtney reported that she was with Rebecca the night prior until 8:30 p.m. when an unidentified friend picked Rebecca up from her residence, from Courtney's residence. Courtney had picked Rebecca up to spend some time together and get ice cream from Culver's. On the way to Culver's, Rebecca told Courtney she needed Tide Pods, so Courtney returned to her address to get some Tide Pods for her daughter. Courtney went to the address, grabbed the Tide Pods, and came outside. Now remember, this is Courtney's story, okay? When she came outside, Rebecca told her she was going to wait at the residence for a friend to pick her up. They waited a couple of minutes, and a black sedan with tinted windows pulled across the road from the residence. Rebecca proceeded across the road, got into the front passenger seat of the vehicle, and then Courtney tells him she doesn't know anything about the make and the model of the car. She doesn't know how many people were in the car, whether they were male or female. But after Rebecca got in that car, she didn't see Rebecca again. That's her story. Courtney reported that she was contacted by Rebecca's fiance, that was Richard Fowler, regarding her location later that night. Courtney informed Rich she did not know where Rebecca was and that Rebecca had left with a friend. Courtney was contacted by Kimberly, that's the sister, Courtney's other daughter, the next morning and was sent a screenshot of the location where Rebecca Park's phone was pinging. Courtney told the deputy that she proceeded down the road on West 26th, where she found Rebecca's phone lying by the 2-track just off the road. This location is less than 200 yards from her address, from Courtney's address. Courtney checked the phone and thought Rebecca may have dropped it when she was using the restroom. Courtney reported that she took the phone to Richard Fowler's residence, that's the fiance, on Tuesday, the 4th, and turned it over to him. So the sheriff's office was concerned because, again, she's 38 weeks pregnant. So they issued a press release on Tuesday identifying her as a missing person, and they also put her in the database as a missing person. On Wednesday, November 5th, the police met with the sister, that's Kimberly, when she arrived at the sheriff's office. She had suggested that she might know where Rebecca is when she arrived. When I asked her about this, she played me a voice message from Courtney, that's her mom, that said Aria Clark had called her and said that 2 people in the car had pulled up to the Revival Center looking for Narcan and said that the pregnant woman that's missing got what she effing deserved. Courtney stated that it was Serena Roush that said something to Rusty Clark, Aria's father. She also added, I guess it was an older guy that your sister left with. When I asked Kimberly if she knows where she is at, she answers that the only older guy that Rebecca talks to is Stephen Billett, and calls him a pervert. Park believes that Billett drives a dark sedan, adding, like Courtney said. Stephen Billett was contacted and did not appear to have had contact with Rebecca. During the interview with Kimberly, she showed the detective a Blue View brand Model 4 cellular telephone, which says Rebecca Park's phone on the home screen. Rebecca reported that she had looked through the phone and observed that the last communications on the phone reported a missed... Okay, the sentence didn't make any sense. She looked through the phone and observed the last communications on the phone and reported a missed video call from clunen14@gmail.com on Friday, October 3rd at 8:43. That last text message was on Sunday, and the last phone call was to Courtney, that's the mom, on Sunday, November 2nd. Courtney identified that Rebecca uses her phone regularly and daily, and because she did not see any communications on Monday, she suspects that records of phone activity on the 3rd have been deleted. Kimberly reported that Rebecca is known to regularly delete communication records from her cell phone. Okay, so Now we know that Kimberly said that her sister is known to regularly delete communication records. So Kimberly then played another voice message on her phone from Courtney, who can be heard explaining, okay, when Randy passed away, I was told that your sister had something to do with it. That would give Randy's family a murder revenge thing because she was involved when it came to Randy. On the message, Courtney suggested, so Steve Billett is connected to Randy's family, so I'd definitely be looking for him or at them. When I asked Kimberly if she, I keep wanting to say Kim, when I asked Kimberly if she trusted Courtney, she responded, not really. Yeah, that's not a good sign when the daughter says, don't believe what my mom says. On Thursday, November 6th at 13:55, police obtained a search warrant for the Blueview 4 cell phone that had been entered as property in the incident at item 54. The cell device was submitted to the Michigan State Police Computer Crimes Unit on the same date at 15:16. On Saturday, November 8th, 2025, members of All County Search and Rescue and Christian Aid Ministry Search and Rescue with 36 personnel comprised of 5 teams searched the area where Rebecca was last seen and the area where her cell phone was recovered from. No additional evidence was identified. During this time, numerous tips and leads were coming in and being actively investigated, but nothing located Rebecca. Due to reported activity on Rebecca's social media platforms, PIN register search warrants are obtained and served on her known social media accounts. However, no outgoing use was ever identified. On November 15th, 2025, Candace Freeman reported to the deputy that her sister, Courtney Bartholomew's, had texted her on October 28th that she had given birth to a son and was asking Candace for items for the baby. Through a series of text messages, Courtney said she had given birth at 28 weeks, the baby was in the NICU in Grand Rapids, and that she had named the baby Ashton Lee Bartholomew. Courtney told Candace he's supposed to come home this coming week. As long as he's doing good, still he will. As long as he's doing good, still he will. On Monday, November 3rd, 2025, at 14:52, Candace asked Courtney if she was able to bring the baby home, and Courtney told her no. He did a backslide, but still hoping this week. On November 3rd at 23:17, Courtney sent Candace a text that reads, "My son passed away." On Tuesday, November 4th at 11:18, Candace asked if it was because he wasn't strong enough or if he'd gotten sick. Courtney asked, "I don't know what happened. I just know he wasn't getting air," and added, "All I know is I watched." They've got "by child" die right in front of me, but I'm sure it meant my. Candace asked if she was there when it happened, and Courtney answered, "Yes, I was." On Tuesday, November 4th at 19:11, Courtney begins to discuss with Candace that Rebecca is missing. Okay. See why I wanted to cover this case? Actually, you can thank Amy for this, because Amy reached out to me and said, we need to cover this case. And I said, oh no, this looks like it's too awful. I can't, there's no way. But the more I dug into this case, there's some interesting aspects to it. So we just have to hunker down and get past the awfulness, so we can see how crazy this family is. I mean, they're still innocent until proven guilty. On Tuesday, November 11th, preservation's request for tower dump area search for the tower in the location, that's the latitude, longitude, between the hours of 1900 and 2200 on November 3rd were submitted to T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon Wireless. Okay, so basically they submitted something saying, hey, freeze these, don't do anything with them. We're going to need them. Police had contacted Courtney about another interview. She was reluctant to come in, suggesting that the interview with her had been thorough, but eventually she agreed. On Tuesday, November 11th at 13:49, police conducted a recorded interview with Courtney. Initially, some background on Courtney and her biological children raised by the Park family is established. Courtney then reports how Rebecca and Richard Fowler were initially dating. They broke up. A relationship between herself and Rich then commences. Courtney reports that she was planning to divorce Bradley. Courtney then became pregnant and was unsure who the father might be, Bradley or Richard. Because of this, she stopped her divorce approximately 2 weeks before the court date for the divorce. Courtney reports that Rich showed up at her house with the intention of shooting Bradley Bartholomew, that's her husband. After Courtney rejected Rich, he resumed his relationship with her daughter, Rebecca. Courtney also reported that Rich had returned to her residence and raped her forcefully, causing her to have a miscarriage of the baby she was carrying. A report of this incident was made with the sheriff's office. However, Courtney said Rich was not charged. Now, if you hadn't heard of this case and your head's spinning and you're going, what? Yes, that's exactly how I was. When Amy started telling me more about it, I said, wait a minute, I got to go look more into this because I didn't know about this part. I hadn't read far enough into this. So then I had to go deep diving into it. Courtney identified that she was concerned for Rebecca as she was aware of how aggressive and abusive Richard could be and has encouraged Rebecca to leave Rich. When police asked about things leading up to the weekend, Courtney reported on Kimberly and Rebecca coming over on Saturday, November 1st, to her residence. Courtney told police about giving envelopes to Kimberly and Rebecca, and these envelopes were later reported by both Kimberly and Rebecca to have been empty. Courtney said she was going to give Rebecca cash and didn't want Kimberly to feel left out, so she wanted Kimberly to set up an account so she could put money in an account for her. Mom just does not like the daughters, right? Courtney then reports having forgotten to give Rebecca some items for her baby while at the house, so she contacted her and then brought the items to her at Richard's house Saturday night. Courtney then said that on November 2nd, that's Sunday, November 2nd, she was supposed to pick Rebecca up to have milkshakes at Dairy Queen and get Rebecca laundry soap. These plans fell through when Rebecca went to Cadillac Munson Hospital as she thought she was in labor. Courtney reported that she and Bradley both visited Rebecca and Rich in the hospital that day. It is confirmed that Rebecca was not in labor, had only dilated to 1, and she was released from the hospital. Bartholomew drove Rebecca and Rich home from the hospital, so Courtney drove them home. Sometimes I say Courtney and sometimes I say the last name, so. Courtney said that when they arrived at Fowler's, he was throwing their bags, and Rebecca had whispered to her that Rich had been acting like a real big ass, Mom. I don't know what that means by throwing the bags. I mean, throwing them out? I don't know. Courtney offered to take her home with her, and Rebecca requested that they just meet for milkshakes tomorrow, Monday, and talk. Okay, so now we're on Monday, November 3rd. Courtney said she went to pick Rebecca up between 1830 and 1900 at Fowler's. Now, that would have been 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. Courtney reports that as they ride, Rebecca said she was tired, which she confronted by telling her she looked stressed. I think he means confirmed. But anyway, by telling her she looked stressed. She claimed that Rebecca was upset with Rich, identifying that he had been hounding her to obtain money to fix his truck. Courtney talked about how she encouraged Rebecca to leave Rich, but said Rebecca was afraid to leave him. Courtney said when they arrived at her house, she gave Rebecca an envelope with $2,000 cash in it. They discussed Courtney throwing her a baby shower. She identified that Rebecca didn't want a baby shower because she was afraid that CPS was going to take the baby. Okay, I wonder why that is. Courtney said that while they were talking, Rebecca was texting on her phone and mentioned the possibility that she had 2 phones. Courtney said she went into the house to get the laundry soap, and when she came back out, I noticed she deleted something, but didn't know what it was or which phone it might have been on. Courtney said she told Rebecca that she would take her back home, but Rebecca told her to hold on. She had someone coming to get her. Courtney said she pulled out of the driveway and a car came up behind her. She identified that she didn't ask Rebecca who it was out of fear she would push her away, but Rebecca had told her she would be back. Courtney said the car had dark tinted windows. There was no plate on the car, but she could tell it was a Chevy. When questioned, that social media was reporting the car had taillights of an Impala, Courtney confirmed that she was the source of that information. She talked about someone Rebecca knows who has a Chrysler 300 also having similar taillights. Bartholomew, that's Courtney, didn't follow the car, as she again said it would have upset Rebecca if she had. Courtney said that about 2300 she reached out to Kimberly to get Rich's number. At about 23:30, she said she tried to call Rich, so she sent him a text that Rebecca had left with someone. All right, now this is already so many red flags. But this one, she said that she had an affair with Rich, that she had gotten pregnant and lost the baby due to his violence. Now she says she's got to call her other daughter to get Rich's phone number. That doesn't make any sense at all, because they had to have communicated to one another to be able to have an affair. Okay, anyway. Courtney confirmed that Rebecca was texting while they were together. Her next contact with Rich was Tuesday morning, and she reported telling him that she'd given Rebecca $2,000. So now she texts the boyfriend and says, hey, I just want to let you know that she left with someone. And the next morning she says, oh, and I gave her $2,000. That's not stirring the pot, is it? Courtney then said that Kimberly sent her the GPS location of Rebecca's phone, which she said she put into her phone, and it took her right to the phone. When I asked who went and got the phone, Courtney then identified who was identified as Bradley and herself. It is reported that Bradley found the phone and he handed it to Courtney. Police confronted Courtney of an image she had sent to Rebecca of a check that was made out in her name for $18,000. She claimed that when her mother died, she was left money to do with what she pleased. Courtney confirmed that she sent an image of a check to Rebecca, but that she had not gotten the check to her. Courtney denied that there was a similar check made out to Kimberly. A statement from Courtney that Courtney had tried to have this meeting prior had fallen through because she didn't have things in place that she needed to. Courtney said it was simply getting kids together at one time. It was simply getting kids together at one time was what wasn't falling in place. Okay, so I got it now. Getting the kids all together at one time was the part they were having problems with. When police confronts Courtney that the phone records for the phone that was found on the 2-track was not used to summon someone to pick her up, Courtney then identifies that there are possibly 2 other phones she uses. Courtney brings up the names of other people she thinks may be involved based on rumors, specifically that Mike Haynes and Ashley Crozy were supposed to help Rebecca get away from Fowler. She's got a lot of stories, doesn't she? As police discussed phone location records with Courtney, she confirms that she picked Rebecca up between 1830 and 1900 and came south to Mackinac Trail and turned west onto East 30th Road to continue out to her residence. Location data from Rebecca Park's phone supported this route of travel. When police confronted Courtney with the accusations that she killed Rebecca, she asked, why the F would I do that, saying she would never hurt her daughter. During this interview, Courtney said she did not know where Rebecca was. When Courtney was asked if she had done anything to harm Rebecca, she again said she would not harm her daughter. While discussing the pickup truck at her residence that was reported to never move, but had moved recently, Courtney reported it doesn't have seats in it, but said it was moved recently to make room to access the porch. Courtney said that Kim and Rebecca do not like Bradley. She's really throwing all the different people under the bus, isn't she? On Tuesday, November 11th at 15:40, police conducted a recorded interview with Bradley. He confirmed his cell phone telephone number. When asked about Rebecca, Bradley reported that they don't get along. He explained that it is due to his criminal history, and he described Rebecca and Courtney's relationship as rocky. Bradley said he was not around on Monday when Rebecca was at the house. He identified that he was at my place and described living in the woods near Harrietta and Fish Hatchery. This gets better and better. As police was attempting to confirm his presence there, Bradley said he was alone and that his phone was with Courtney as her phone was about to be shut off. The truck at the house was discussed and identified as not having moved in years. Bradley said that he had been driving the truck up until October 21st of 2025 when the license plate expired. Okay, so now wait a minute. It was discussed and identified as not having moved in years, but then he says he drove it all the way up through October 21st when the license plate expired. I'm so confused. When asked if the seats were out of the truck, Bradley confirmed that they had been. He explained a similar explanation that they were cleaning the truck up for Courtney's son, Bentley, to drive when he turned 16. When Bradley was asked when he found out that Rebecca was missing, he identified it as Monday night or Tuesday morning, and he denied being at the residence. Bradley told police that on Tuesday, November 4th, Courtney was in town, and he was at the house with Bentley when Courtney texted him the location of where Rebecca's phone was. Bradley said he refused to go out there alone because I'm not being accused of anything. Bradley said that when Courtney got home, they went out together to look for the phone based on the ping that Kimberly had sent to Courtney. Remember, Kimberly's his sister. Bradley confirmed that he was the person who found the phone on the 2-track, and he picked it up and handed it to Courtney. Bradley said he didn't know how Rebecca's phone ended up on the trail, but suggested she'd walked that trail in the past. On November 24th, Monday, November 24th, Courtney came to the sheriff's office, and the police began a recorded interview with her. This is a case, isn't it? I mean, this is something else. On Monday, November 24th, when Courtney came into the sheriff's office, there was a discussion about the TikTok live conversations. I asked Courtney about a cell phone or cell device that a bounty hunter dropped off at the Clare City Police Department. She identified this phone was provided by Kimberly. During this meeting, I asked Courtney about Kimberly's personal property and her vehicle. She confirmed that she was in possession of items that belonged to Kimberly. However, she didn't want to leave the items with me to return to Kimberly. On Monday, November 24th, Bradley Bartholomew was interviewed by the Michigan State Police Crime Lab in Grayling. During his interview, he reported that he's trying to protect Kimberly. He said that Kimberly took Rebecca down a 2-track road behind the house, and he stated, "I believe she's dead." Now remember, Kimberly, the sister of Rebecca, is the one that initially said, "I think there's a problem. I can't find her, and she's not answering her phone." Bradley said that he was present during a dinner with Courtney, Rebecca, and Kimberly on Saturday, November 1st at Courtney's house. Bradley said that Kimberly had a private conversation with him asking about the 2 tracks behind the house, and Kimberly stated she needed to get Rebecca out of the picture. On Tuesday, a day later, November 25th, dispatch received a 911 call from Courtney Letterman, different Courtney, stating that she had found a body covered with leaves that looks gutted. The location of the body was approximately 2.5 miles in a straight line west of 30 South 21st and a half Road in Antioch Township of Wexford County on Forest Service Road 9784. So now I believe that's the address of the Bartholomews, well, or Courtney anyway. Wexford County responded to the area, observed the remains, and reported the deceased female has a tattoo above the left eye.
We came out, we went down, we drove down as far as we thought, we got out, we looked around, and this white truck came up to us again. An older gentleman and a 20-year-old, some young boy came up and said that they needed help and wanted to show me a video. And we just had them take us to whatever the video that they wanted to show us. And the son, or the young boy, or the 20-year-old, did not want the dad to go up, and asked if I could go up and see if it was a mask or if it was really somebody, and it was Rebecca.
He reported that the abdomen area of the body appears to have been cut open. The tattoo located above the left eye is consistent with the Michigan driver's license images of Rebecca Park. Michigan State Police trooper was inside the residence. Sorry, my dog's having a fit over here, so just ignore her. She's playing with a toy. Observed the remains. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. We got that part. He was inside the residence on Tuesday, November 25th, securing the residence until the Michigan State Police Crime Lab personnel could search the home based on the search warrant that had been authorized on that date. While in the presence of Courtney and Bradley were discussing amongst themselves loud enough for Trooper Campbell to hear. Courtney mentioned to Bradley that the seat cover from the Ford F-150 in the driveway had recently been burned and disposed of due to something having been spilled on it. A search warrant was served on T-Mobile for Bradley's known cell telephone number. The records that were produced pursuant to the search warrant show Bradley's device active in the area of the Bartholomew home, Courtney's home, on November 3rd, 2025. Now remember, Bradley said he was out living in the woods where he lives. So he's not saying he was there. Further, these records show device movement and lingering in the areas consistent with where Bradley and Courtney reported recovering Rebecca's cell phone and where her body was discovered on several occasions on Monday, November 3rd, in the evening hours. These records take place after the records obtained from Rebecca's phone and network demonstrate when these records take place after the records obtained from Rebecca's phone and network demonstrate her arriving in the area of the Bartholomew house shortly after 1900. Cellbrite extraction location at the residence. Additionally, records from Rebecca's phone extraction show locations consistent with the reported location of recovery of the device. So basically, the cell phone puts them in place. Search warrant was served on Verizon for Courtney's known telephone number. The records that were produced pursuant to the search warrant show Courtney in the area, and both Courtney and Bradley's records show them in communication with one another shortly after her arrival with Rebecca. Additionally, Courtney's phone records have activity consistent with her interview statements that she traveled to pick up Rebecca at Richard's residence, then transporting to her house. Bradley's call detail records show the following calls of investigative interest. At 18:12 and 56, a 2-minute, 2-second outgoing call from Bradley to Courtney. At 19:29:55, a 57-second call from Bradley to Courtney. 19:33 and 39, a 54-second call from Bradley to Courtney. At the time of the call at 18:12:56, device network records show Brad and Courtney's devices near the area of their home, and this precedes the activity of Rebecca's device coming into that area. Affiant is aware the calls at 1929-55 and 1939-33-39 again show Brad and Courtney's device in that area after Rebecca's device records show her arrival in that same area. So basically, they're putting them all in the same place. An autopsy was conducted. All right, another trigger warning here. Another trigger warning. If this is upsetting, well, it is upsetting, but if it's upsetting to the point you need to take a step back, please do that. We always have room for you to come on back. An autopsy was conducted at Western Michigan University by Dr. Christine James and attended by Deputy Alexis Howard. There were 6 sharp force wounds on Park's back, 2 to the right upper arm, 1 to the left trapezius area, 2 to the neck, and at least 2 to the face. The right side of the face also has a laceration and an irregular wound to the cheek of unknown etiology. The wounds to the neck are described as superficial and do not penetrate muscle or harm any vasculature. Most of the wounds to the torso are contained in soft tissue. One of the back enters the left pleural space but misses the lung. One to the right side of the back enters the right pleural space and does penetrate the right upper lung lobe and caused a large pneumothorax. That's a collapsed lung. All major vessels are intact. Rebecca's abdomen had incised wounds. The placenta was hanging from the open abdominal wound with attached to umbilical cord, and the fetus was absent. The abdomen incision transcended the colon and small bowel. Dr. James reported that Rebecca's stomach contained copious amounts of a blue-green chalky residue. I don't even know what that would be. There was also a thin film of subdural blood over the left cerebral hemisphere with focal subdural on the right parietal area. However, I have such hard time with these. You know, the Latin words don't throw me, but you give me medical terms. It's hard to do. However, there was no subscapular or subgaleal hemorrhage nor skull fracture is noted. The OA joint had marked laxity, but a posterior neck dissection showed no soft tissue hemorrhage. On Sunday, November 30th, a second search warrant was obtained for Bradley and Courtney's residence. Search warrants to seize the 2007 Ford Escape 4-door SUV, red in color, and they read the VIN, and a temporary Michigan registration plate registered to Courtney, and the 1992 Ford F-150 pickup truck, white in color, with a Michigan registration, and have them towed to the Wexford County Sheriff's Office to be processed by the Michigan State Police Lab technicians were obtained. Okay, so all of that was one sentence. In other words, they got search warrants for all those items, both of the vehicles. Search warrants were served, and Bradley and Courtney were both taken into custody and transported to the Wexford County Sheriff's Office. Sorry, I got to take a drink of water. On Sunday, November 30th, at 1541, police conducted a recorded interview with Bradley. Bradley was put on notice that Rebecca's death is a homicide and that this is an investigation and that there can't be any more lies. Bradley was read his Miranda rights. From a Miranda warning card, he confirmed understanding of the rights explained to him, and he agreed to speak. So in other words, he waived his right to counsel. Bradley reported his knowledge that Courtney went to get Rebecca. They came to the house to get Tide Pods, and they were supposed to go get ice cream. Bradley said he was at the home with Bentley. Now, Bentley is Courtney's younger son, who's 16. He admitted that he lied during his first interview about being at the residence because of his sex offender registry status. Okay. This has got to be the craziest the craziest thing. I mean, they're involved in everything. Bradley is told that SOR violations are small in comparison to a homicide, and he says that at the time he didn't know this was a homicide. He reported that Courtney had backed out of the driveway in the Ford Escape, and then she came back. He says that at that time he had no idea where Rebecca was. He said that he knew Courtney left with the white Ford and then came back. He reported that Courtney had told him that she and Rich were in the white Ford and they had a disagreement and there was blood on the dash. Courtney asked Bradley to clean it up, which he reported that he went out and wiped it down. He said he didn't see any blood on the floor or the seats, just blood splattered on the dash. He described that later there was white paint on the seats, and Courtney asked him to remove the seat covers, which he confirmed he did. He said he was unsure what she did with them, if they were thrown in the burn barrel or if they were put in the trash. Next, he said that Courtney was talking to him about how she and Rich did something horrible, but she wouldn't tell him. He claimed that once the story of Rebecca came about of her being missing, he began to put two and two together. Bradley reported that Courtney threatened that if he said anything, she'd make his life hell. Bradley identified that Courtney has tried to stab him with scissors in the past and charged with assault, but the case was dismissed. What a great family. Okay, so she has tried to stab him. She threatened him. So he's basically throwing her completely under the bus. He clarified that Courtney had told him about the something bad happening 5 or 6 days after Rebecca was missing, but he claimed he wasn't sure what bad thing that had been done. When asked about the story about the baby in the NICU at DeVos, Bradley identified that she was supposedly adopting a baby, but he didn't see how she could due to his status as an SOR. You know, he's on the sex offender registry. Bradley said that Courtney was alone when she got into the white Ford and left north, and that she returned approximately 15 minutes later. He stated that he had sent a text to Courtney to see if she needed him to come outside for anything, and she responded in the affirmative. It was now that he said that Courtney reported getting into a fight with Rich. Bradley said he never observed Rich on this date, so he did not observe any injury to Courtney. Returning to the something bad topic, Bradley was asked to continue that topic. He identified that Courtney is all over TikTok and that Kimberly was over to use Escape to deliver newspapers. I guess that means the Escape, a vehicle. He confirmed that Kimberly left personal items in the Escape and identified she did that all the time. When police asked about anything else that Bradley wanted known before drilling down questions began, he said that Courtney was constantly talking to Rich. He agreed that she was also constantly talking to Kimberly. He reported he can't hear the conversations as they're all taking place by text. He only knows it's them because he sees their name on the phone. Bradley is then confronted with records from carriers, specifically T-Mobile and Verizon. He was asked about Courtney's phone that he had previously said was no longer going to have service. Bradley identified that she had service restored, but was aware that she had conducted a factory reset on the phone. He was notified that a factory reset does not prevent access to records that are maintained by the carrier. Oops. I didn't know that. That's what he's thinking. Bradley said that he had Courtney's phone on Monday, November 3rd. It is pointed out that there are phone calls between both phones he uses and that the one that Courtney uses while Rebecca is at the house. He passes these as simple calls checking on her comings and goings. He reports that he hasn't driven the truck since he parked it and that it only had enough gas to get to the gas station. Police confronted Bradley's statement about the blood in the truck, confirming his knowledge that the truck had been seized, identifying if there's any blood of Rebecca found in the truck, there will be a big problem. Bradley is confronted if he thought Courtney had been lying to him about what went on, and he says he does. He suggests he can't see Courtney and Rich being together like that, as they haven't talked in over 2 years. Bradley confirmed that there are no $18,000 checks. He did not know why Courtney sent images of the checks. He did say he spoke with Kimberly on Saturday, November 1st, after their dinner that night had ended. He said she was talking about the 2 tracks behind the house. He denied that Kimberly told him that he needed to get Rebecca out of the picture. He identified that Kimberly had said this to Rich Fisher, who he identified as Courtney's cousin. We got multiple Courtneys, we got multiple Riches. So we just have to stay on track with this. Police confronted that this was not all Rich Fisher told him when he interviewed him personally. Bradley reported that Kimberly is jealous of Rebecca and that he is aware that Kimberly has had a relationship with Rich in the past. Okay. So mom's sleeping with Rich. Sister's allegedly sleeping with Rich. And Rebecca obviously did because she got pregnant. Well, unless it wasn't, I don't have any reason to believe it wasn't his. Bradley reported being upset when Kimberly was on the internet saying that he and Courtney were responsible, making a statement that he doesn't understand how anyone could do that to a pregnant woman. He answered that he believes that Courtney and Rich would be capable of doing something as this. When asked for what purpose, he gave different possibilities. Bradley agreed that he believes that Courtney is capable of slicing open her own flesh and blood and taking a baby out. How horrible. And she's married to this guy, and he stayed married to her thinking that she's capable of that? Okay. He agreed that Courtney is obsessed with wanting another baby in her care and custody. He also agreed that it was a good possibility she could attack Rebecca and cut a baby out of her. Police asked if he remembered that Sunday that Rebecca was in the hospital, Courtney saying or texting, "Don't you dare have this baby in the hospital." And Bradley remembers somebody saying it, but not who was saying it. Bradley confirmed going to Fowler's house on Saturday to take the gifts to Rebecca that Courtney forgot to give her at the house earlier that day. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So he goes over to Rich's house. While discussing being upset that Kimberly had accused him of being involved, the police asked why he hadn't called him, and Bradley said that Courtney had threatened him that she didn't want him involved. His explanation was that she doesn't want to get incriminated or himself incriminated. Bradley began to say that he thinks that Courtney has more to do with it than what she wants to claim. He said all the evidence is pointing to her. He suggests that he believes all the evidence would be in the white Ford. The blood he observed inside the truck is discussed and described. Bradley said that he removed the original seat covering about a week and a half after Rebecca went missing because it had got white paint on it. When asked what he thought happened, he responded he thought Courtney was jealous of Rebecca. Okay, so a minute ago he said Kimberly was jealous of Rebecca. Now Courtney's jealous of Rebecca too. He agrees that Courtney would like to have another child. He also thinks that Rich wants to get back into a relationship with Courtney. Bradley agrees that he thinks Courtney could point the finger at him as being responsible when we interview him. When Bradley is confronted with Courtney being in the possession of the cell device with the 9134 number when she went to pick up Rebecca, he claims he can't say she possessed it, but it was there at the house and he had it to call her. He then confirms that Courtney did not have that phone when she went to Fowler's to pick up Rebecca. He reported she got that phone when she came back from getting the white Ford. Yeah, this is a long one, isn't it? Police asked Bradley what else he wanted us to know about, and he told us that Courtney had scalpels in her bedside stand, describing them as disposable scalpels for lancing cellulitis. Boy. Bradley doesn't remember going anywhere on the morning of Tuesday, November 4th, other than to Fowler's to give him Rebecca's phone. Bradley confirmed that he had come to the hospital on Sunday, November 2nd, to bring Courtney her wheelchair, and that he was driving the white Ford pickup truck while Courtney was there with the Ford Escape. He did not ride back to Manton with Courtney when she drove Richard and Rebecca home. Now remember, this Ford F-150 supposedly had not been driven all this time. Now we've had 3 instances of people saying that they drove it. They moved it. They drove it to the hospital. She drove it. So we don't really know. Okay, so Bradley begins to show some emotion about the possible outcome of this investigation. Bradley's given a break at this point in the interview. On Sunday, November 30th, 2025, 1714, police conducted a recorded interview with Courtney. This ought to be interesting. Courtney was read her Miranda rights from a warning card. She confirmed her understanding, and she agreed to speak with detectives as well. I don't understand these people. I really don't. If you know you committed a crime, which it's all pointing to her at this point, or she knows she might be possibly arrested for a crime, why in the world would you say, yes, I'll talk? Has she not watched any true crime shows? Has she not watched any YouTube channels? I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but if you know there's a possibility that they're going to find out something you don't want them to find out, and it's going to be used against you, get a lawyer. Just get a lawyer. Okay. I'll go back to what I was doing here. Courtney identified that at the dinner at her house on Saturday, November 1st, it was herself, Rebecca, Kimberly, Bentley, and that Brad was hiding in the truck. Okay. Police notified Courtney that this is a homicide investigation, that the lies must stop, and if she lies, more charges will be brought. Courtney reported that Bradley is hiding in the truck because the girls won't come in if he's around because they don't like him. So he's got to hide in the truck? That just makes no sense to me. She reported that the dinner ended around 1900 and 1930. The next thing that happened was she called Rebecca about the items she forgot to get her, and she and Bradley went to Fowler's to drop the items off. At the time, they were in the Ford Escape. On Sunday, November 2nd, she was supposed to pick Rebecca up and waited until around 18:30, and Rebecca called to say she was on her way to the hospital. She described the events at the hospital as she had previously. Bradley brought Courtney her wheelchair to the hospital. Bradley was driving the white Ford F-150, and she explained how he stopped at the Measure gas station to get gas for the truck while she drove Rebecca and Richard home. Courtney wanted to know if Bradley could hear her, and she was told he could not. She reported talking to Rebecca Sunday night about getting shakes on Monday. She said that Rebecca asked about her $2,000 and said that Rich was upset about something. Courtney confirmed the trip to Fowler's house on Saturday after the dinner to drop the items off for Rebecca. When police asked Courtney why she wanted to know if Rebecca could hear her, she suggested the need to back up, saying she thinks she needs immunity. Police notified Courtney that the prosecutor is the person who can give immunity. Courtney suggests we get the prosecutor here, and police says she'll want to know what she has. Courtney said she will give us where the knife is and where the baby is, that she will give it all to us. When police confronts Courtney that she has guilty knowledge, she responded that she had been threatened, her child had been threatened, her home had been threatened, and she is done. She renews her request for immunity and then asks for witness protection. Sergeant explains we can't offer her immunity. When police ask Courtney if the baby is alive, she shakes her head in the negative. Police ask Courtney about her prior statement that Bradley hides in the truck. He asked her where he hides, and she identified in the cab. She describes it as a single cab truck, and he lays on the seat. Courtney reported that Bradley had put $15 worth of gas in the truck when he was at the gas station on Sunday night. Courtney asked if Bradley confessed, and police reported he'd told us a lot of stuff. Yeah, this is not their first rodeo. They're not going to tell her anything. Courtney confirmed that Bradley is using the phone with the number 550, and her phone is the 429 phone. She confirms that she had the 429 phone on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and the Monday that Rebecca disappeared. She said her phone was taken on Monday night and she was told to go back in the house. Courtney said her phone was taken at about 20:30. She renewed her request to see the prosecutor. Police again told her we need to know what she knows to take it to the prosecutor. When she suggests an example that she will even tell us where the baby is, she interrupts and says, in the garbage in a blue cooler. That's so horrible. So horrible. When asked where, she reported, in the GFL. I don't know what the GFL is. He said he put him in a black bag. The cooler's gone. The cooler is Brad's work cooler. Adding, he put him inside the cooler and drove him up and down the road looking for a GFL that wasn't mine. When police asked why, Courtney reported that it was related to Bradley going to jail last year when Fowler turned him in. When police asked why, she reported that it was related. Okay, that makes sense now. She explained that it is all retaliation. She identified the night that they went home after their last interviews. She confronted him about his examination and his failure. Police asked Courtney which vehicle he used to get rid of the body, and she identified her white truck. She is then asked how she got her in a position to kill her. She explained how she pulled her into the driveway. She had notified him she was on their road. She explained that she got to the house and talked to Rebecca for a few minutes, and Bradley walked up and pulled her out and said, I want to talk to you. Courtney described that the white truck was sitting out by the road and explained she didn't think anything of it. Brad was supposed to be her stepdad. Courtney wanted to know where they were going, and that Brad told her to take her ass in the house and don't worry about it. She said she went into the house because she didn't think he would hurt her. Bradley is reported to have returned to the house at 22:30 and told her that he had taken Rebecca home. Courtney confronted him that he had not, and he told her he had, and that he would call her in the morning. Courtney asked, and that she could call her in the morning. She could call her in the morning. Okay, so basically, he says, look, stay out of it. I took her home. You can call her in the morning to verify it. Courtney asked him for the phone, which she reported he was told was out in the shed, and he went out to get it. She said when he came back in the house, he said, yes, she didn't go home. Instead, telling Courtney that he took her to a house, but when she asked him to take her there, he just said that Rebecca said to him she didn't want anything to do with her. Courtney reported telling Rich to tell him to call her back as soon as possible, and that while Brad was watching her, she told Rich that, dude, your old lady left with some guy. Or Bradley would backhand her. So basically she's saying that she calls him and says he left because she was afraid of Bradley. And this same person, remember, that's got the scalpels in her nightstand beside the bed, and she's afraid of Bradley. Okay. Neither one of them sound like citizens of the year, but she sounds just as scary, if not worse, than him. Courtney confirmed for the police that the story about the black car was made up and never happened. Gee, you think? Asking her to continue, she reported Kimberly sending her coordinates to Rebecca's phone and asking Bradley why her daughter's phone would be across the road, and his response was, I don't effing know. She asked Bradley to take her to the phone and said he took her right to it. She said that phone was exactly where the coordinates is. She said it was out in the open and it appeared that someone had just set it down. They took the phone directly to Rich's, but before their arrival, she said Bradley told her, I'm telling you right effing now, don't say an effing word. Kimberly got the phone from Rich, and Courtney reported that Kimberly had called her and said she was taking the phone to the cops. She said Kimberly called her at 2100 on Tuesday night to tell her this. When asked to continue, Courtney identified that in her second to last drawer in her bedstand, she has razor knives that she uses to nick open her cellulite so it will drain. That's gross. She reported that one was gone which she said she knew because she counted them due to a teenage boy living in her side. Okay, I gotta ask, even if you have to have something like that to do that, whatever she's describing, do you have to have a whole group of them? Do you have to have a whole kit? I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me, to have a whole kit of these sharp little knives in her nightstand. So many that she worries about the teenage son might come and get them. She reported that one was gone, which she said she knew because she counted them due to a teenage boy living in her house. She agreed the knives are like scalpels. When she confronted Bradley about the missing knife, she answered, he didn't say anything then. Police confronted her that her use of the word them means he must have said something later, and she reported it was after the body was found. Okay, wait a minute. I got to back up. I messed up. When she confronted Bradley about the missing knife, she answered he didn't say anything then. Okay. And then he confronted her on the use of then, and she said, yes, he said something after the body was found. Sometimes I just have to go back and make it make sense. Courtney said she kept asking Bradley where her daughter was, saying he answered, you'll find out soon enough. She goes on the report that after returning from her last interview, he told her about Kimmy, was asking about woods behind the house to go trail riding. Courtney said that Kimberly will not talk to Bradley ever alone. She reported trying to get Rich Fisher to take Kimberly's bag to her. She said that Bradley said, you can't have that. You're not taking her bag. He said, nobody's taking this bag. Courtney said she realized Kimberly's wallet was in the bag, questioning why he would want her wallet. Police confronted Courtney that he had asked her for Kimberly's property while she was at the sheriff's office on Tuesday and that she refused. She explained that she was told not to, suggesting she didn't want to get her ass beat. Again, woman with knives in her bedside, nightstand. I'm not saying that she's not an abused woman, but I'm just saying he sounded more concerned about her than her of him. But I may be reading this wrong because this is all third party, you know. She reported that on Tuesday, November 25th in the morning, Bradley took the truck and went west on West 26th Road and was gone about 20 minutes. She said when Bradley came back, she asked him if he had hurt her daughter, and he said, no, I didn't hurt her. Courtney said that was the same day Rebecca's body was found. Courtney said that on Wednesday, November 26th in the morning, she confronted Bradley and asked him what he did. She reported he told her, I'm going to tell you once and I'm going to tell you and you're going to F and drop it and you're going to shut the F up. He's like, I'm the reason your daughter's not here, that your life is upside down right now. When she asked him why, she said, Bradley said, Rich F'd with the wrong MFer. She agrees that this is all a revenge plot. Courtney said that when she asked him what he did to her daughter, he said, I slit her effing throat. Bitch deserved it. She goes on to say that she said Rich deserved it too. She goes on to say that he said Rich deserved it too, and it just happened to be your daughter's that's going to pay for it. Your daughter that's going to pay for it. Courtney said that when she asked about her grandson, she said Bradley said, oh, I stuck him in a cooler, stuck him in a trash bag, threw him in the trash. Yeah, that's just, golly, that's just absolutely horrible. Man, it's so hard to believe the first episode of this. In the next episode, we're going to wrap up this PCA, probable cause affidavit, and we're going to look at some others that are for the sister and Rich, the fiance, and a few other things that we found. So we have a firm understanding of this case because at some point it's going to go to trial. So this is Case by Case, and I hope to see you back soon.